Hello, my good friends. Darren Spees here with you. I want to let everybody know, excuse me, that we are choosing absolutely everything that is happening to us, both good things and bad things. Now, the thing is, I need to clarify on this because I know a lot of people right off the bat are saying, no, that's not true. I didn't choose for this bad thing to happen to me, or so and so. Like, for example, someone who goes, um, we can just look at this I'm going to elaborate much more as we get on, but basically, I know the basic concept. I don't want to get into personal matters, but let's say, for instance, someone chooses to go skydiving. Well, obviously, they did not actually want their parachute to not open and plow into the ground. So they're not actually wanting pain or bad things to actually happen in their life. But when we choose to a particular behavior, there are potentials that come with choosing that behavior. And although the person who went skydiving did not choose to die, they put themselves in a position where that was a potential that could actually happen. Now, we could apply this to many things. Getting, someone who got in a car accident. Well, essentially, you did not have to get into that car, and so forth. I could go on and on and on. I think you get my idea. I think some of the more personal issues, such as people saying that I didn't choose to be raped, or I didn't choose to be beat by my husband, or I didn't choose to come into a world and see my father beat my mother, or I didn't choose to be in an alcoholic family, or to be abused, or whatever. People are not. And I know those are really, really sensitive subjects, but I've come in. If you're truly wanting to embrace the truth of the matter here, please stay with me and listen to what I have to say. And this truly comes into having an understanding of who we are, our true self, of who we are, and how we are spiritual, mental, and physical beings all at the same time. And we're part of a universe that has universal laws in it that we are all bound by, or sort of the rules that we must play by, which when we learn about our true self, who we truly really are, understand how we have been given free will to choose everything that is actually going on and what we will experience, but also understanding that there are ramifications to all of our choices and behaviors, and there is a way that the universe and how things are actually set up according to dimensions. Now, I'm going to have to explain a few of the universal laws here to help you get an understanding of what I'm talking about here. And essentially, it comes to the very first universal law is the law of mentalism, which basically says that the universe is mental. All is mind. So, to grasp the concept of the universe, is that the universe, or the construct in which we live in, the matrix, or whatever you want to call it, came from what is known as the first cause. The first cause was a non-physical thing. It was in the mental realm. Essentially, that first cause that created the first construct of reality in the mental realm would be likened to the mind of God, or essentially a dream of God. And essentially what's happening is we are all within that mind of God. So essentially all is mind. All is in the all. So we're in the all, and the all is in us. And we're playing, so basically we're in somebody's dream, um, God's dream, call it the higher universal mind. And because we're inside of the higher universal mind, or God's dream, so to speak, or creation, we have, he or she or it is the architect of the dream. And the architect of the dream sets up the rules or the universal laws that exist inside of the dream that we must all abide by. So we have all these laws that are there. So this is where it's really, really important to understand the universal laws and how they exist and work. So essentially we're inside of this mind of God, and we're under these universal laws. Now the next law is the law of correspondence. And basically what the law of correspondence basically says is, as above, so below, as within, so without. And what that is really talking about is basically saying is what's happening on one plane of existence is also happening on another plane of existence. Essentially, there are three planes of existence: the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. Now remember what I said, nothing is everything we see in the manifested or physical plane of existence first originated out of the mental plane of existence, the thought realm. There has to be a thought before that can be brought into creation. So everything came from there. But once it's all starting to move, basically all three planes of existence that we are experiencing right now are basically all mirrors of each other, just on different levels of subtlety. Now, and if you want to go a little bit further, just to try and understand that, is that and each of the three planes of existence sort of blur into each other, as, for example, with the physical, each of the three planes of existence have 7 minor planes, and each of those 7 minor planes then have 7 subplanes of their own. So there's many different planes in the physical plane of existence, the mental, and in the spiritual, and they sort of all blend together to become one. And essentially we are existing on all 3 planes of existence all at the same time. Quantum physics explains this as entanglement. So what I want to get at here is that each of these planes of existence have many different levels. Now I also want to explain that even within the physical plane manifestation of reality, there are different dimensions stacked on top of each other, much like how oil floats on top of water. Now, the vibration of water is of a lower density than the vibration of the oil, because the oil is less dense, it sits on top, meaning it's of a higher vibratory nature. So the things that are happening, the things that are manifesting in the water are much different than the things that are happening in the oil. Now understand that our plane of existence that we live in here on Earth has certain characteristics or certain vibratory rate. That's why everything shows up here, our physical bodies and things that we can touch and feel, like all these things are manifesting here. Everything that's going on here in the world, we can physically touch and feel. So what I'm trying to say is, because of the things that our spirit and mental aspects of ourselves are identifying with, we have chosen to manifest in this particular vibration or on this particular plane of existence. We chose that by the behaviors or things that we identify with. Now I want to explain to people that each thought, word, and deed has a frequency associated with that. Now, a thought, word, or deed can be of a balanced nature, in alignment, with the universal laws, or it can be out of alignment or unbalanced. And the things that are unbalanced are descending in nature, moving us into a lower vibration or a lower frequency or a lower plane of existence. And in those lower planes of existence, there are more unbalanced behaviors and things that are going on. The opposite is true. If you choose to identify with things of a higher vibratory nature, what's going to happen is you're going to begin associating with the higher dimensions where things are balanced, and there's not going to be a lot of unbalanced behavior. So what I'm trying to get at here is that we've all chosen to manifest into this physical realm of dimension, and because we're vibrating at this frequency, there is now what is known as a collective consciousness of the realm and everything that's going on here. Now try to understand this like we've all chosen to go in a pool. Now, the pool that we've decided to go into, everybody's splashing. So you're going to get a wave splashed on you from somebody else over there because they're in this dimension. So you're going to get hit with things that you didn't necessarily want. But you have to also understand that you chose to get inside this pool, or you chose to can't come into this plane of existence and resonate at this particular level. So because you chose that, you also have to deal with the collective consciousness that is here and realize what is actually going on. Things are going to happen to you here regardless, because that's how this plane of existence is. If you're not happy with this plane of existence, it does take time. You have to basically drop your body. But the thing is, if we begin choosing higher vibrational behaviors, then we can start progressing and ascending above. Now, it might seem like a long time for this to happen. It might even take several lifetimes for that to happen. But if you become consciously aware of what is actually going on, who you are, connecting with your super consciousness, and super simply comes from a Latin word that means above. So super consciousness basically relates to the consciousness from above, or your higher self, so to speak. And the aspect of ourselves that deals with these physical avatars is what would be known as our lower self or our lower ego. So the thing is, once you start to connect with your true self, your higher consciousness or your higher self, and that has a much higher perspective and knows how to actually navigate you properly through space and time, you can then begin identifying with those higher perceptions. And you know that voice in your mind, it speaks to you. And that's the voice most of the time we say, I don't want to worry about that, because we all become enslaved to our senses, and we want to enjoy the things associated with the physical body, the pleasures of life. But the thing is, to enjoy some of these pleasures, they also have potential dangers to them. Like the guy who wants the thrill of skydiving, he also runs the chance of his parachute not opening. That, for example. Now, this is really this is a really, really tough thing for us to wrap our heads around. But understand, this is what I gotta say, that in the higher dimensions, physical manifested dimensions, people who associate with higher balanced ways that basically are aligned in love and compassion, you know what? That's a pool that people are not splashing about. They respect each other, they love each other, they help lift each other up, and they're there and they want to create balance and harmony with each other. Such a realm does exist, but we must choose that. We have chosen not that. We are now in this dimension, we've chosen to come here, and now we have to deal with the collective that is happening, and we have to deal with people who are actually still descending further and further down. They're going to continue down. Some of us will stay here, and some of us are trying to ascend up. So all this stuff is happening all at the same time. So you have a choice between the dimension below you, the dimension above you. I'm talking about the physical plane of existence, different planes of existence, or you can stay here. Now, every thought, word, and deed, I told you before, excuse me, has a frequency attached to it. So you are constantly changing your vibratory rate, or your frequency, or your, what I would call your karmic blueprint. Just like your DNA is a physical blueprint of this avatar, you are always updating your karmic blueprint. And as soon as you drop this body, and this body gives out, your new karmic blueprint of the choices that you've made in this lifetime will manifest accordingly to the things that you've identified with. If you've identified with lower vibrational behaviors, you're going to manifest that accordingly, and you're going to go into a physical plane of existence that will represent that. If you've identified with things that are balanced, of a higher vibratory frequency, then you will manifest that. That's how that works. So essentially, for you to come into a physical plane of existence, you need to have a physical avatar or body to perceive the physical reality. Now, essentially, like for myself, this physical avatar was created by my parents. At the point of conception, the combined frequency of both my mother and father, when they joined together at that point, created an avatar that matched my karmic blueprint, or my frequency, which would hold my consciousness. Much like a lamp holds a certain wattage of light bulb, I have a certain wattage or energy pattern that I needed to hold my consciousness. So my parents were the perfect match for my karmic blueprint to manifest. And the karmic blueprint matches my DNA at the point when the avatar was created. So that being said, I came into the world, into this avatar, into a situation that was suited to my frequency. Unfortunately, in my life, I had, my mother was a very submissive woman in one sense, and my father was dominating and alcoholic and all these things, and beat my mother and all those things. I had a lot of problems growing up. I didn't come from a really balanced home. It was a lot of crap going on in my life, but that's what I needed to come into. That's what I chose to. From my previous incarnation, what I chose, my frequency, that's what I came into. I didn't necessarily want that, but because of my frequency and the things that I actually identified with, this is where I manifested. So I chose from those things, my individual choices, what I made, that dictated where I would manifest and how I would manifest. And I came into that part of life. And I had a father that wasn't the best. He was an alcoholic, beat my mother, and it was never around. I had a lot of issues. So I came into that. Did I actually choose that? As far as, I didn't actually want that. I don't think anybody wants to have those pain and suffering. But the problem is that we're not aware of what we're choosing. And I'm trying to give you a key here, that what you're looking at and what you're experiencing and the things that have happened to you in your life, depending how you respond to them, if you respond to them with hatred and anger and you're fighting back, those behaviors in response that you're doing, if they're of a lower nature, you're choosing to stay here or even further descend down. If once you understand how the universal laws work, The universal laws are set up in such a way that balance is the place where life occurs. When you choose balanced behaviors, which are of a higher frequency, you're going to rise up. The love and compassion is an energy that we can identify with, that lifts up. If an old lady falls down and you have compassion in your heart and you align with that and you help lift her up, you've just aligned yourself with the higher frequency of compassion. So you're raising your frequency. The more we do that, we raise our frequency. When we choose to, say, not hurt other beings, kill other beings, and put good things, say, into our body that are balanced, that don't create disease, we are raising our frequency. With every thought, word, and deed, you are choosing your frequency. You are literally guiding your ship across space and time to a reality that you're choosing with every single thought. Hopefully that's making things clear. Now, this makes once you understand how this all works, you'll know that you actually have control. This is the way the universe has been set up. This is how free will has been bestowed upon us. Know that we did not bring ourselves into existence, but we were brought into existence through the mind of God. We have been bestowed with the gifts, the same gifts and powers of God, as God wants us to experience life in the fullest. But that gift, we must choose to accept that gift, and that is what free will is. So with every single thing that we do, we're choosing to either align with life, or we're choosing to align with death, and we have to become aware of that. That will bring you into the understanding of who you are on all three levels, in the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. Then will bring you in to understand that all things come from mind, from the mental realm. Then that will lead you into an exploration of the mind, the masculine and feminine aspects of the mind, and actually how they work. You'll begin to understand about the different levels of consciousness, and how everything is separated by degree, that there is an unconscious realm, a subconscious realm, and that is directed by the conscious realm, or the conscious objective mind. There's a lot of information to understand. It's actually not a lot of information, but it's very, very detailed, but it's really not a lot of information, but we need to be able to wrap our heads around it. And I highly recommend a couple books to understand this. The main book where it all comes from, understanding the universal laws, and being able to apply them and learn about yourself, is the Kybalion. That is the main book, and it comes from a being that was supposedly called Hermes Trismegistus. But there's another book, and it's called The Adventure of I, A Journey to the Center of Your Reality, by Tania Kotsos. And that's Kotsos is Kotsos, I believe. And I'll put a comment. I'll link them in the comments below this video on Facebook here. And I'll put them. Yeah, I'll put links in there for that. But anyway, I hope you found this interesting. And if you have questions, please ask me questions. I know sometimes I don't always explain things the best way, but I just wanted to reveal to you basically a key to help you navigate above, the waves that are happening here on this collective. If you don't realize who you are and the universal laws that we are all bound by, don't realize that you actually have a choice, you have free will, and actually how everything is working, then you basically become a product or a victim of the collective consciousness. We truly need to awaken our conscious objective minds, which is actually the father aspect of mind. And there is a Christian saying that basically to be perfect just like your Father in heaven. And what that is actually referring to, that is referring to your super consciousness or your higher consciousness, meaning the consciousness that is above, that is superior to that of the lower consciousness of our lower ego. Anyway, there's so much more I could talk about, and eventually I will. I'm almost done my studio, and I'm going to be getting into talking a lot about these universal laws and how they relate into our chakras and sacred geometry and so much more, because it's about coming into a journey to know thyself, who we really are, to realize the true power we have within to control our own reality. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. Okay, bye-bye.